Okay, before you watch this video, I feel like I should put a disclaimer in here. Yes, this is a very long video, but it was intentional. And the reason for that is at the second half of the video, I show you guys some different situations where I test out the audio of the Osmo Pocket. 5 different situations. And instead of just saying, here I am in my pickup, here I am outside, what do you think of the sound? What I did is I told a little story for each of those environments. So that's why it got to be kind of a long video. So if you want to skip the stories and you just want to hear a snippet of each environment, I'm going to put timestamps in the description where you can click on the timestamp, get right to that portion of the video, and then just listen for 5 or 10 seconds. Let me know what you think about the audio. At the very end, I'll have that poll, and I'll put a timestamp for where that poll comes out as well, so you guys can skip all of my stories. But for those of you that are interested, I'm just going to tell you guys some stories about my past, some kind of, I think, entertaining stories. So if you want to watch those, watch the whole thing. And if you don't, just click on the timestamps. And please don't leave me any comments about how long the video is, because yes, I know it's long. And I'm sure some of you are still going to leave that comment, but I guess that's okay. Hi everybody, thanks for watching today. So the DJI Osmo Pocket, when I first got it, I used it for 7 days straight. I tried out all of its features and ultimately I was not satisfied. And I made a video about it and you guys responded both favorably and not so favorably, which I understand and I expected. What I did not expect was how many of you encouraged me to give it a second chance. And so what I've decided to do is I'm going to do a series on the Osmo Pocket. And with this series, each video is going to be a short video focusing on one particular aspect or feature of the Osmo Pocket. For instance, I'll do one on lighting, I'll do one on slow motion, one on stabilization, and all I'm going to do is show footage, and I want you guys to focus on that particular feature. I'm not going to interject any of my personal opinion. I'm just going to show the footage. I might have some background music to it, and then at the end of each of those videos, I'm going to have a poll. It's going to pop out right up here up in the corner, and it's going to ask you guys, how do you think it performed? Did it perform well or did it perform not so well? And then when I've completed this series of videos, I'm going to gather all of the results of those polls. I'm going to show you guys what you guys think collectively of the Osmo Pocket. Now, most of the footage is going to be in auto and basic mode. And the reason for that is I want to focus on the consumer, the average consumer, not the professional or even the prosumer. You know, I want to focus on people that are just going to buy this to replace their phone for capturing life's moments. Yes, I understand that we can attach the phone and we can do so much more powerful things with the Osmo Pocket, but that is not the purpose of this series. The purpose of this series is just for the average consumer. I just wanted to say that because I know in the comments people are going to say, you know, you can make it better by attaching the phone and changing the settings, but the best thing about the Osmo Pocket is the portability, the small size, and the ease of use. Most average consumers aren't going to be concerned with aperture or ISO or taking their phone case off, attaching their phone, changing the settings, taking their phone back off, putting their phone case on, recording with the Osmo Pocket. The situation changes. They have to reattach their phone, change the settings again, and I think it's just too much. Now, this intro is going to stay the same for all of the videos, so if you're watching follow-up videos, I'll always have a timestamp down in the description where you can get right to the footage. So let's get started and let's see together what everyone thinks about the Osmo Pocket. So how is the audio quality on the Osmo Pocket as well as the battery life? Well, you're going to tell me. Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. And if this is your first time here, this is 51 Drones and my name is Russ. If you enjoy what you see today or get anything of value, click on the subscribe button as well as a notification bell so you don't miss any of my future videos. So in this segment of the People's Review of the Osmo Pocket, we're going to talk about 2 different things. Number 1, we're going to talk about the battery life on the Osmo Pocket. I'm going to test 3 different situations. I actually did it already and see how long the battery lasts. And then secondly, and more importantly, I want to show you guys the audio quality straight out of the Osmo Pocket. You know, when it first came out, the audio quality was not getting such great reviews. And since then, they've done some firmware updates, and I think it might be a little bit better, but you guys are going to tell me. At the end of each of these segments, a little poll is going to pop out. It's going to slide out right here. I ask that you please take 10 seconds to fill out that poll and let me know what you think. First of all, right after I show you the battery life clips, and then secondly, after we go through some of the audio stuff. So first of all, battery life. What I did is I wanted to see how long the Osmo Pocket battery lasted in 3 different situations. The first one that I did is I set up the Osmo Pocket on a tripod. I set it up on a tripod while I was painting a bedroom that we're putting in. We're putting in a new bedroom in our home, and I had to paint it. So what I did, I just set it up on a tripod, hit record 4K 30 frames per second, and I just let it record. I moved it around like 4 or 5 times while I was painting just to keep me in the frame. And here is a time lapse of that. But this is the total time, just over 2 hours, I think. But keep in mind that it didn't have to do much of focusing. It didn't have to do any gimbal stabilization or anything like that. So the next thing that I did is I strapped on a chesty, a GoPro chesty. I put the Osmo Pocket on there, and then I finished my painting and just walked around, went about my day, walked around with my painting. I went to the gym. I walked around the track a few times. People kind of laughed at me wondering, what is that guy wearing? But anyway, at least then I could see how the Osmo Pocket did while it was moving, while it was doing its thing, while it was focusing, while it was stabilizing with the gimbal. And as you can see, here is the number. It actually, I think it did quite well. It almost got the same amount of time that it did just sitting still. Then finally, what I wanted to do is I wanted to test out some extreme conditions. And so it was 3 degrees outside, and I wanted to see how the battery lasted in that cold of a temperature. So I just set up the Osmo Pocket outside on the tripod and I let it run. And as you can see, it pretty much cut the time in half. So that's your battery life on the Osmo Pocket in those situations. Right here's that poll popping out right there. Go ahead and please click on that. Take 5 seconds. What do you think? Is it great? Is it acceptable, or is it terrible? Let me know. Now, for the audio part, what I'm going to do right now, you're listening to me inside the pickup. This is the audio inside my vehicle. And I'm going to do some different situations, and you guys are going to tell me what you think of the audio. But instead of me just walking around saying, here I am outside, what do you think of the audio? Here I am in my house, what do you think? I'm going to tell you guys some stories. I'm going to tell you some personal stories from some of my past experiences in my life, just to make it a little more interesting and maybe give you guys a little glimpse into how I grew up. So hopefully they're entertaining. I'm going to save the best one for last, of course, so you guys have to watch through the whole thing. But at the very end, again, fill out that poll that pops out there, and let's see what all of you think of the audio on the Osmo Pocket. So here we go. Okay, so for the first test, we're going to be outside, and being outside in these frigid temperatures reminds me of a story from back in college when we were ice fishing. If you don't know what ice fishing is, basically up in the upper Midwest at wintertime, the lakes freeze over, and we drill a hole of them, and we sit out there in our winter clothes and hopefully catch some fish. We throw a line down, catch some fish. But we were fishing Devil's Lake, North Dakota. I was with my stepfather and my uncle, and we were going to move the fish house to a better location where the fish were. And the ice was pretty thick. You know, we were driving our trucks on there and it was fine. But we were trying to move the house to a better spot. And my uncle couldn't pull his fish house because the snow was too thick. So what we had to do is we had to hook up our pickup to his pickup. And then we towed the fish house across the lake. We got to the location where we were going to start fishing. And I stopped the pickup. I was the one driving, the one that was towing them. And I stopped the pickup and I get out and his pickup just dropped about 2 feet under the ice. It broke through the ice. It didn't go down right away, just kind of broke through the ice. And of course I still have the tow rope hooked up, and I started freaking out, and it just started to slowly go down. Well, what happened was my uncle couldn't get out because the door was, jammed by the ice. So he crawled out the window. I quickly unhooked the tow rope, and within 30 seconds, that truck went all the way down to the bottom of the lake. Now, it didn't go all the way down. It was sitting on its end. It was sitting upright. So the front end of the pickup was sitting on the bottom of the lake. The tailgate was even with the top of the ice. So it was sitting upright. So anyway, what they did, and I got out of there. I drove the pickup out of there. So that was pretty lucky to be alive. But anyway, we called this company that actually does that. They come out and they pull vehicles out of the lake if they fall in the lake. And what they do is they have this cherry picker thing. I'll see if I can find a photo of one on the internet and show you guys here what it looks like. But it's a cherry picker. They slide it over the hole. They have a tow truck. They hook up a cable, hook it on to the vehicle, and they lift it up out of the ice. Well, this company came out. They tried that. And what happened was the pickup was too long. They got it up to the top of the cherry picker, couldn't get it. So what they tried to do is they tried to drag it across the ice. What happened is it actually broke through the ice. The truck went down to the bottom of the lake. The cherry picker contraption went down, and the tow truck went down to the bottom of the lake. So what they had to do, they had to go back to their company, and I think 2 weeks later, I don't know how long it was, maybe a week or two, they had to build a new cherry picker, use another one of their tow trucks. They went back out there. They pulled out the pickup, they pulled out their old cherry picker, and then they pulled out their tow truck. Unbelievable. So anyway, some guy bought that pickup. It was a brand new diesel Chevy Silverado pickup. I think it maybe had 1,000 miles on it. Some guy bought that pickup, overhauled it, fixed it up, and he drove that pickup away. I mean, it was just amazing. Anyway, that's my first story. Sorry, it was a little bit long, but let's do another situation, show you what the audio sounds like on the Pocket. Okay, so we're at Walmart right now, and there's a lot of ambient noise. Of course, I got a noisy cart because there isn't such a thing as a non-noisy cart at Walmart. But, you know, you got the noise of the HVAC, the people, the beeping, everything like that. So I thought it was a good test of the Pocket right now. I'm going to quit pushing the cart so it's not so noisy. But the story that I have for you guys here is I worked at Walmart my sophomore year of college, and actually sophomore through senior year of college. It was my very first job where I actually got a paycheck besides farming. And it was like, I was working there for probably 2 months as a stockman. And I got a call for the front, said stockman to the front with a mop and bucket. And so that's never a good thing when you get a call to the front with a mop and bucket. Me and another stockman went up there, and the manager puts his hand on my shoulder and he says, "Russ, I've been working at Walmart for 15 years, and he said, I've never seen anything like this, so I apologize for this, but I know you're going to do a good job." So anyway, I had to go in the women's restroom, and when I walked in that room, it basically smelled like somebody had died in there. And I went in with a mop and bucket and I almost choked to death. But I walked in the stall, and it had looked like someone had taken a hefty garbage sack, one of those big black garbage sacks, and filled it up full of diarrhea and then just slammed it against the wall. It was the most disgusting thing that I had ever seen. So I had to use a mop and bucket, and I scrubbed the walls. I was scrubbing the walls with the mop and bucket, and and the manager came in there as I was cleaning it, and he said, "I don't know what happened here, but I hope that person is okay. They probably should have went to the hospital after that." So, but anyway, that was my story working at Walmart. There was a lot of interesting stories, but that was the one that was most memorable. So anyway, let's go do another spot, test out the audio on the Osmo Pocket. All right, so I'm coming to you from my kitchen. Now, the kitchen is challenging for even the best of devices, because of the echo. There's so much echo, there's so many hard surfaces and things like that. So just listen to me as I tell this story. It's a farming story. One year we were combining, and my uncle always carried a Swiss Army knife with him, one of those, medium-sized Swiss Army knives. And we were harvesting, and we were dumping the grain. It was wheat, I think. And we were dumping the grain into the hopper, and then it was going up the auger, and it goes into the dryer because the wheat was quite wet, and so we had to dry it. And typically it takes about 24 hours for it to dry. But anyway, he was shoveling the back of the truck out. He was getting the last of the wheat out, and he was bending over, and a Swiss Army knife fell into the hopper. And then, of course, it went up the auger. You can't reach in there and grab it because it'll cut your hand off. And it went into the dryer. And so for 24 hours, his Swiss Army knife went around in that dryer. Basically, the dryer looks like a big grain bin, but it blows air through it to help the grain dry, and it rotates everything. So the Swiss Army knife went through the dryer for 24 hours, and then the next day what we do is reload that grain back into the back of the truck. And then we take it to the elevator, and we dump it into the elevator, and they pay us our money. So when you take your grain to the elevator, what they do is they'll come out with a bucket, and actually I don't know if they do that anymore, but they take a bucket, like an ice cream pail, and they go out there and they get a sample of your grain, and then they bring it in, they check the moisture, they check the protein level or whatever. And so the guy came out there, and he put the ice cream bucket underneath the back of the truck. We had the truck, the dump almost all the way up, and it was finishing off the grain. And so he put the bucket under there, and guess what fell into that bucket as we were dumping the grain into the elevator? It was that Swiss Army knife. And the dude from the elevator just like, "Hey, what's this doing in here?" And it's my uncle's Swiss Army knife. So I wouldn't have believed it if I didn't see it for myself. So it was pretty amazing. So, all right, I got one more location, and then you guys are going to vote and let me know what you think of the audio on the Osmo Pocket. Okay, so the last place that we're in the normal spot where I do my talking videos, right in front of my computer. It's in my basement. We have carpet down here. It's a lower ceiling, so there's not as much reflection of noise. So the audio should sound pretty good, but you guys go ahead and let me know when that poll comes out. So for my last story today, it's one of my favorite stories from the past, and it's about me and my father. My father has since passed. It's been a few years now. He died of cancer, and but he was kind of a jokester. He was kind of a funny guy. Always liked to play practical jokes, and we went back and forth through the years. And it's another ice fishing story. One year we were ice fishing, and we were fishing for northern pike. And of course, when you fish for northern pike in the winter up here, the best thing to use is smelt. It's called smelt, and they're just little fish about this big, and you get a bag of like 2 dozen for a few dollars at the grocery store, and then you put them on this big hook, put them under the water, and hopefully you catch a northern. So we weren't catching many fish that day. I think we maybe caught 1 or 2, and we're kind of bored, so I was thinking of fun stuff to do for practical jokes. So what I did is right before we left, there was about 4 or 5 smelt left in the bag. And so when I was packing up his Suburban, he had an older Suburban. I think it was like a mid-90s, maybe 95 or something like that. It was an older Suburban that he used for hunting and fishing and stuff. And I took that bag of smelt, and instead of putting it away in the cooler, I actually put it underneath his back seat of his Suburban, and I shoved it up underneath the springs. So when you looked under the seat, you couldn't see it. And so the rest of the winter, you know, he didn't really say anything, and I totally forgot about it. And then all through that summer, I forgot about it. And then later that fall, I'm like, hey, Dad, did you ever have a funny smell in your Suburban over this like past 9 months? And he's like, yeah, you know, I really did, and I could not find it. I took it, I got it cleaned, I got the seats cleaned, I got the carpet cleaned. I went over that thing from front to back trying to clean it and get rid of that smell. I thought maybe it was something was on the engine. He said it drove me nuts. Every time I got in that vehicle, it just stunk like something died. And then I told him, well, when we went ice fishing that day, I took that smelt and I shoved it up there. So we went out and we looked, and underneath the back seat of the Suburban, there was still that bag of smelt. They were, of course, all dried up. You know, they had deteriorated and they didn't stink anymore. But all through the summer, he had to smell that anytime he drove his Suburban. So that was one of my better practical jokes on my father. So anyway, this is it. That's it for the stories and the audio test on the Osmo Pocket. Let me know what you think. Right here's that poll. It's going to pop out right there. Go ahead and click on that. Please take 10 seconds. Answer that poll. Let me know what you think. Did the Osmo Pocket audio sound great overall? You know, in all 5 situations? Did it sound average or was it terrible? Just let me know. Also, if you guys got anything of value out of this or you were entertained at all, click on that thumbs up button. Comment below what was your favorite story of mine. I want to thank you guys for watching today, and we'll see you in the next one.